Hello, everyone, and welcome to The Explainer. I have to tell you, I've been absolutely buzzing for this one. Let's just dive straight in, because today we're doing a complete box breakdown of what was an honestly historic 2026 Spanish Grand Prix over in Barcelona. Now, if you watch the race, you already know the massive headline. Lewis Hamilton crossing the line to secure a mega maiden victory for the Scuderia. It was just a brilliant weekend packed with tactical masterclasses, raw emotion, and quite frankly, a completely redefined championship battle. But look, before we get into the hardcore telemetry and the race strategy, we really have to understand exactly where Hamilton's head has been at recently. Sheesh, maybe it is true that when you get to a certain point, you lose it. That was Lewis not too long ago. After what was a pretty disastrous maiden season with Ferrari back in 2025, where he really struggled to click with his new car and his race engineer, Hamilton was plagued by some serious self-doubt. Honestly, he sank so deeply into this negativity that people in the paddock were genuinely wondering if he'd even return for 2026. So what actually pulled him back from the brink? Well, it was a mix of unplugging, leaning on his true friends, and really feeding off the sheer passion of the tifosi. In fact, right when he needed it most, a devoted fan simply shouted to him, "Don't forget who you are." And you know what? That seemed to just snap him right out of it, setting the stage perfectly for Barcelona. So here's our strategy briefing for today. We're going to be looking at rebuilding a champion, Ferrari's brilliant three-stop masterclass, an historic British podium, and finally, what all of this means for the 2026 championship picture. Right, Section 1, rebuilding a champion, from disillusionment to the top step. You see, when Hamilton initially arrived at Maranello over 500 days ago, the excitement was absolutely electric. But that transition out of his Mercedes comfort zone, it was brutally tough. To banish those demons, team principal Fred Vasseur executed some massive structural changes behind the scenes. Vasseur effectively acted as a human shield, taking all the flack during the bad moments, just to protect his team from the notoriously intense Italian media. He then completely revamped the engineering structure around Lewis, most notably bringing in Carlo Santi, who Hamilton has enthusiastically dubbed his Italian Bono. But they didn't just change the personnel, they did a proper job on the car itself. They altered the SF26 braking configuration to suit Lewis's driving style and heavily utilized his direct input on the chassis development. Vasseur literally moved mountains to make this partnership work, and Barcelona was the undeniable proof that it actually did. Moving on to Section 2, the three-stop masterclass, springing the strategic trap. Because as we all know, you do not win in Formula One without a bulletproof strategy, and Ferrari sprang an absolute beauty here. It all started right on lap 1. Hamilton opted to start on the soft compound tires, which gave him a massive punch off the line, and immediately opened up a front-footed three-stop strategy. The absolutely crucial point, though, was that first stint. George Russell, running on the mediums, failed to widen the gap to above 3 seconds. Because Mercedes didn't build that buffer when Hamilton boxed early, the Mercedes pit wall panicked. They brought Russell in early too, just to cover the undercut, and that completely derailed Mercedes' planned two-stop strategy. They were then forced to extend Russell's middle stint, which led to massive tire deg, and right when Hamilton was charging back at him, boom, lap 40. The virtual safety car deploys, Hamilton gets a cheap pit stop, and his track position is absolutely 100% secured. Diving into the hardcore telemetry really reveals the sheer brilliance of this track. After Hamilton's second stop on lap 28, he began taking massive chunks of time out of Russell. I mean, on lap 31 alone, Lewis was 2.6 seconds faster. In just 8 laps, he recovered a staggering 19 seconds. Why? Well, because while Lewis was absolutely flying on fresh rubber, Russell was battling severe understeer on completely dead tires. And to make matters worse, he was wasting time fighting his own teammate, Kimi Antonelli, because Mercedes decided against using team orders. Ferrari isolated Mercedes' weaknesses perfectly. It was a masterstroke. Now, post-race, Toto Wolff and Mercedes were pretty quick to argue that the virtual safety car cost them a potential race victory. But you know what? The telemetry tells a very different truth. Fred Vasseur confirmed that Hamilton had a solid 2-second per lap pace advantage on vastly fresher rubber. So VSC or no VSC, when you factor in standard tire degradation, Lewis was mathematically guaranteed to hunt Russell down and just breeze right past him. That checkered flag was always going to belong to the prancing horse. But here's the thing. This wasn't just a strategic victory. It was a technological one, too. McLaren's team principal, Andrea Stella, openly admitted post-race that Ferrari now has the best F1 chassis on the grid. Ferrari brought a massive upgrade package to Spain. We're talking a revised front wing, new nose assembly, and a totally redesigned floor. Stella noted that these upgrades have made the SF26 the undisputed fastest car through medium-speed corners.
So while Mercedes might still have a tiny edge on raw engine power down the streets, Ferrari's aerodynamics are now well and truly leading the pack. Okay, Section 3, an historic British podium, breaking a 58-year record. 1968. Just think about that for a second. That is the year we have to go back to. When Lewis Hamilton crossed the line in first, followed by George Russell in second, and Lando Norris in third, they achieved something we literally haven't seen in nearly 6 decades. The last time we had an all-British top 3 was at the 1968 United States Grand Prix, and that podium was locked out by absolute legendary names, Sir Jackie Stewart, Graham Hill, and John Surtees. It's a phenomenally special milestone for British motorsport. And of course, the F1 paddock never misses a chance for some cheeky humor, do they? Former Top Gear host Jeremy Clarkson tweeted this absolute gem right after the race. Great to see 3 Brits on the podium in Barcelona, just a shame the winner was sponsored by an Italian beer. It's a brilliant little dig referencing Ferrari's Peroni sponsorship, while Clarkson is of course famously pushing his own British Hawkstone lager. You've got to love it. Finally, Section 4, the championship picture, reigniting the fight. Because let me tell you, the fallout from the Spanish Grand Prix has completely changed the maths for the 2026 season. Looking at the current standings, Mercedes rookie Kimi Antonelli suffered a devastating reliability-induced DNF late in the race in Barcelona. That 0-point haul for the championship leader, combined with Hamilton's deeply emotional 106th career victory, has suddenly launched Lewis right up into second place. He is now sitting on 115 points. That is a mere 41 points behind Antonelli, with George Russell right behind him on 106. All of a sudden, out of nowhere, the title race is wide open again. And if you want to know exactly how Hamilton feels about this 41-point deficit, his defiant post-race message says it all. Dream the impossible. This is only the beginning. The fire is undeniably back. The demons of 2025? Banished. He's found his Italian Bono, his chassis is the envy of the grid, and this massive partnership with Maranello is finally, spectacularly paying off.
Which leaves us with one massive question to wrap up this explainer. With the SF26 now boasting the best chassis in Formula One and a completely revitalized Lewis Hamilton behind the wheel, can the Scuderia hunt down Mercedes at the upcoming Austrian Grand Prix? Are we genuinely looking at a fight for world title number 8? I really want you to think about that, look at the data we've unpacked today, and get ready because the rest of this season is going to be absolutely spectacular. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I'll see you on the grid for the next one.